You're listening to Let's Talk Clarity, the podcast where we have open, honest, and empowering conversations about mental health and well-being. I'm Zeenat Noorani, the Clarity Coach and co-founder of the Let's Talk Better CIC campaign. I help children and young people and adults navigate life's challenges with confidence and clarity, giving them the tools and strategies that they need when faced with adversity. Today, I'll be diving into an issue that affects so many young people, bullying and cyberbullying. Before I do, trigger warning. Be in a safe environment as you listen to this podcast. And if you are triggered by anything today that you've heard, please seek support. It's so important that you reach out and do not suffer in silence. Now, lately, I've been speaking to lots of people, and bullying isn't getting any better, and it continues to be on the rise. Bullying has existed for decades, but today, in a digital world, it has evolved and intensified more than we can imagine. And to some extent, it is spiraling out of control. Now, bullying can break a child's confidence, impact their mental health and well-being, and even shape their future relationships and their self-worth moving forward. Cyberbullying, in particular, is relentless. There's no escape when the bullying follows them from home through their screens continuously without stopping. What I wanted to do before we dive into today's topic, I wanted to share a brief insight about a young man who I met who's going to be on this show. Now, he's a young man having autism who encountered ongoing horrendous bullying, physical, mental, emotional, and digital online bullying throughout his life. Bryden Duncan, who was only at the age of 10 when he attempted to take his own life. Horrendous, shocking. But fortunately, he is here today. Yes, he is here today, just finished university, and he is living his life and telling his story through a feature film. Now, I'll be speaking to Bryden really soon on Let's Talk Clarity. I don't want to go into depth because he's the one who's going to be sharing his journey and the impact that it had on him and the message that he wants to get across to many people globally. But what I do recommend is that you go over and you check out his trailer preview of his film that will be out this year in the next month or so, called Breaking the Circle, the official trailer found on YouTube, Breaking the Circle. I will pop the link below and in the comments as well. But on the 21st of July, 2025, I had the pleasure of being invited to the premiere of his movie launch. So yes, please do check it out. And if you believe this will benefit someone else who may be going through a difficult time, or someone you know who has a loved one that is struggling, then please do share this. But also note that if this trailer triggers any traumatic or uncomfortable feelings, please reach out to someone to talk to, like the Samaritans, Mind, family member, a friend, or even a professional. And know that you are not alone and that there are services and people here to help and support you. Please do not sit in silence. Voice your concerns. Let's dive into today what we'll be exploring: the different types of bullying and the impact on their mental health, the unique challenges faced by primary age children, secondary students, and young adults, how social media pressures and peer pressure and online harassment have changed the way bullying happens. Practical strategies for parents, schools, and young people to tackle bullying head on. So whether you're a parent, educator, or someone who has experienced bullying yourself, this episode is to provide an insight and support and solutions. So let's start off with some facts. 1 in 5 children experience bullying at school each year. Cyberbullying rates have tripled in the last decade. And victims of bullying are twice as likely to develop anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts. Bullying today is more complex than ever. It's not just playground fights or name calling. It's emotional manipulation, online shaming, and exclusion that can happen silently and invisibly to parents and teachers, and even in the workplace. And that's the scary part of it all. It's done so silently and sometimes not so visibly. I wanted to pass these thought-provoking questions towards you. How often do we underestimate the silent suffering caused by the bullying? Are we enough to educate children, or are we doing enough to educate children about empathy and not just punishment? How does bullying affect someone's identity and confidence in the long run? So what is the impact of this? Studies show bullied children are more likely to self-isolate, underperform academically, and develop chronic stress and anxiety. For some, the effects carry on into adulthood, affecting career, relationship, and self-esteem. Why this matters now? Well, social media. With social media being used starting as young as the age of 7 and being 24/7 connectivity, children no longer have the safe space, the safe place to escape. The digital world means bullying can follow them into their bedrooms and even into their future. That digital footprint that cannot be erased. Once it's out there, it is out there. Once people have heard about it, they've heard about it. The impact is horrendous and has vital consequences. So before I continue, I want to give you a few professional support lines. If you need support or you know someone who does, please signpost them to any of these, even have them visibly where people can access them more easily. Samaritans UK 116123, free 24-hour support if you're struggling to cope. Childline 0800 1111, free helpline for children and young people under 19. Mind, mental health advice and support. Young Minds, you can text them on YM to 85258 for urgent support. So please do reach out to any of these support services. Do not suffer in silence. Right, so I want to touch on the types of bullying and who it affects. There are several types of bullying and they affect children differently at different ages. Bullying covers and evolves as children grow. Understanding its form helps us recognize the hidden signs, and that is the key, becoming aware and understanding. We have to develop better understanding of the signs and the symptoms. So let's touch on physical bullying, hitting, pushing, damaging belongings, most commonly done in primary years, but very rarely reported, can lead to fear of attending school and physical injuries. Verbal bullying, insults, threats, humiliation, all of this worsening during teenage years as identity and appearance becomes a target. Because that is the age we're really changing, our bodies are changing, our identity's changing. We're trying to find our way in the world and fit in. And that gives bullies an opportunity to target those people because they're different to them or they don't fit in their norms. 3, social bullying, exclusion, rumors, reputation damage, devastating for teenagers as friends define self-worth. And one of the biggest, cyberbullying, harassment via social media, group chats, gaming, etc. No boundaries. All of this can happen at any time, anywhere, in a split second, and often anonymous, making victims feel very, very trapped. Who it affects and how? Well, it's children and young people. Primary age children, 7 to 11, learning social cues, teasing, often dismissed as banter, but can deeply hurt self-esteem. Secondary students, 12 to 18, social media heightens pressures to fit in. Bullying is relentless and it's public. Young adults, 19 to 24, the harassment just continues in college, university, and even into the workplace. Body shaming and online trolling. So think about this. How many children suffer silently because bullying is seen as a normal part of growing up? How do we address bullying in places where adults have limited visibility? For example, Snapchat, Discord. What systems do schools and workplaces need to be able to detect bullying earlier and to be more sufficient and effective in this? Now, social media has completely changed, as we know, and this has changed the way bullying happens. Anonymous, trolls attack 24/7 on someone, hurtful messages spread in seconds. Children feel pressured to be perfect online, making them more vulnerable to criticism. Many young people also suffer in silence, and it's those silent ones that's frightening because they are too afraid to report it. Social media has removed this safe space. Home is no longer a refuge. Bullying travels with children and young people in their pockets. The problem is hurtful content can spread to hundreds, as I've just said. Victims can relive trauma every time, again and again and again, every time they see a post or a comment or something similar, whether it's targeted at them or not. Filters, anonymity, embolden bullies to say things that they normally wouldn't say face to face. And they're doing it online because they're not in front of the victim. So they feel that they can target them even more. Here's another really, really important problem. Algorithms. Algorithms reward viral content, even if it's harmful. I mean, that is mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. Here's some expert insight. Dr. Dan Alweus, and it's spelled Olweus, a pioneer in bullying research, warns cyberbullying is often more psychologically damaging than face-to-face bullying because there is no escape. Food for thought there. And the impact of this on the young minds is sleep deprivation. Because what's going to happen is they're going to be getting up in the middle of the night, checking their messages because they can't sleep. They're worried, they've got anxiety, they're feeling overwhelmed. So they're going to have sleep deprivation, which then affects their education or in the workplace or the relationships, increased anxiety and paranoia, higher risk of self-harm and suicidal ideations. Some other things to think about. Do parents really know what platforms your children are using and what they're actually viewing and the impact it's having on them? Should tech companies bear more responsibility for harmful content? Absolutely. I mean, I recently heard on the radio as I was driving that TikTok are wanting to put a restriction time, like a band of how many hours content can be viewed, because young people are viewing more than 6 hours a day on their social media. And I think that the ban they want to put on there is like 2 hours maximum a day. Should more companies be doing this? Could we teach digital resilience as part of the school curriculum? Absolutely. As an ex-teacher, we should fundamentally be teaching anything to do around mental health and well-being, things that impact children and young people's mental health and well-being within the school curriculum, not just the academic stuff. Because you can have all of that, but if children aren't mentally and emotionally strong and resilient inside of them, how are they going to perform well? How are they going to do well? We have to be embedding this within the school curriculum and make it cross-curricular as well, as much as possible. Not just tick box exercises, which a lot of schools still do today. They bring in external services. Tick the box. Yes, we've had a wellbeing expert come in and do on bullying or cyberbullying or online safety, etc. You know, we need more than this. Or sometimes teachers within the school do this. It's not enough. It has to be part of the curriculum. So what are your thoughts on what can be done to make this stop? How can we as a society get grips on this huge, huge issue of bullying? I'm going to share some strategies now for parents, schools, and young people to get you started, start thinking about and build on. So here's what we can do to combat bullying. So for parents, start those conversations really early on. Ask, how do you feel about what's happening online or in your school about bullying, right? Now, you can still ask this question, whether your child is going through a difficult time or not. It's about educating. It's about raising awareness and understanding. Teach assertiveness and emotional regulation. Encourage children to keep evidence of bullying. And importantly, model kindness, because children mirror what they see at home. And if you're struggling to understand how to get these conversations started with your young children or even teenagers, seek expert advice, professional advice, like someone from myself, to come in and support, because often that can give you a platform to then begin those conversations. Because I understand that it can be tricky and you might not know where to start, but it's so, so important that you have these conversations earlier on. So for schools, enforce clear anti-bullying policies with consistent action, again, embedded throughout the school ethos, the curriculum, during the subjects, wherever you can. Drip feeding, it's those little drip feeds of stones or pebbles or whatever that saying is. Provide training for staff on recognizing non-physical bullying, okay? And that doesn't mean having someone come in again and just tick that box that we've had the training. Have regular meetings about it. Collect data, what's working, what's not working, what has been done, what hasn't been done. So we're constantly improving and changing the culture of how bullying is seen and targeted. Establish anonymous reporting systems if you haven't done so already. Empower bystanders. So encouraging the peers to speak up and not stay silent. How can they be brave enough to help someone who might be being bullied? And as for young people, block, report, and tell a trusted adult, because silence protects bullies, not victims. Support friends by small acts of kindness, which can truly, truly be life-saving. And remember, what you post online lasts forever. Digital footprint, digital footprint. And think about this. Would you be okay if your future employer saw it? What you had done and posted in the past and where you are now in the workplace moving forward, how's that going to impact you? How's that going to impact your future? All of this comes down to creating a cultural shift as well. Move beyond zero tolerance. Slogans, build empathy into the lessons, into the workplaces. Encourage peer support groups and student-led campaigns. Get them involved, because the more involved they become, the greater the change and the greater the understanding and resilience and empathy. Teach digital citizenship, rights, responsibilities, and consequences online. Just to recap, some professionals that you can reach out to and that you could pass on to if need be, and have these at hand for children and young people to access easily. Samaritans, Childline, Young Minds, The Mix for the under 25s, Anti-Bullying Alliance, and the NSPCC. So remember, tackling bullying isn't just about punishment. It's about creating a culture of respect and kindness. So before we close today's episode, I wanted to leave you with this final thought. If there is one thing, just one thing, oh no, actually there is one thing I want you to take away from this episode. It's this. This is what I would like you to take away from this episode. That's right. Bullying thrives in silence. Bullying thrives in silence. When we are quiet, when we stay quiet, we dismiss it as kids being kids. When we hope it will just go away on its own, we allow it to grow. But when we speak up, we listen. And when we act, that's when that change begins. And we have to listen. Listen, listen, listen. And listen to what is not being said. Bullying doesn't just affect the child being targeted. Remember that. It affects families, friendships, school culture, the workplace, the entire communities. Every cruel comment, every exclusion, every post online leaves a mark, digital footprint. But so does every moment of support, kindness, love, intervention. Those positive things leave a long-lasting impact, a positive impact. Another thought of another few questions for reflection. What conversations are you going to start today with your child or student about kindness and empathy? Are there signs that you might have missed out? The withdrawal, really understanding it, the anxiety, change in behavior, that could be the signal of silent suffering. Sometimes we can mistake that for, I don't know, my children are just tired, or they're growing up. They're simply just teenagers. So just think about those signs that you might have missed. And how can you become the adult or the friend that a young person trusts enough to say, I need your help. I need help. I need help. So here's your call to action. Talk to your child today. Ask them, how was school? How does school feel? Not just, how's it going? And remember, when you ask them these questions, be fully present and attentive. Put your phones away, all distractions, and truly talk to them and listen. If you suspect bullying, don't wait. Document it, involve the school, and seek help or professional advice. Share this episode because you never know who might need to hear this. Be part of the change. Model respect, kindness, and accountability in your daily interactions. So that's your call to action that I'd like to leave with you. And again, once again, here are the helplines, which I'm going to pop down below, or no, not or, and I will put in the details of the content too. Samaritans, Childline, Young Minds, The Mix, and Mind. Please have all of these signposts so that it's accessible to whoever may need them at any point. Remember, you're not alone, and help is always available. And finally, if you're looking for further tools, workshops, or coaching to help children and young people build resilience, confidence, and emotional well-being, you can reach out to me directly at theclaritycoach.co.uk. Let's have a conversation. Let's create a safe space. Let me help you with support that you may need in bringing greater awareness, bringing greater skills, understanding and resilience to the young people today, where every child feels safe, feels heard, feels seen, and feels supported. Together we can break the silence, and together we can end bullying. Let's begin by changing that culture. Teaser for my next episode. When we talk about women's rights, we think about equal pay, education, safety, but how often do we talk about water? That's right, I've just said it, water. Access to clean water is one of the most overlooked gender equality issues of our time. Around the world, millions of women and girls walk miles and miles every day just to collect water for their families. This daily journey isn't just exhausting, it robs them from education, jobs, health, opportunities, and even their safety. And yet, very, very few people are talking about it. Interesting, isn't it? That's why next episode on Let's Talk Clarity, I'll be sitting down with Sidan Kaufman, founder of Pure Water Northwest. Now, he is passionate about uncovering the hidden truths about water, from dangerous contaminants like PFAS to arsenic, the shocking gaps in our safe drinking water standards. But in this episode, we will also be diving into a story you've probably never heard. Water and gender equality, the untold story, how clean water transforms women's lives, and is one of the biggest human rights issues nobody talks about today. So we'll be covering things like how clean water access transforms women's lives and communities, why water scarcity and contamination are still major human rights issues in 2025, the surprising ripple effects of water on health, education, and even gender-based violence, and what are the needs, what needs to change globally and locally to make water a tool for empowerment rather than inequality. So think about this question related to this. Could solving the water crisis be the key to unlocking gender equality worldwide? This is one of the most eye-opening and important conversations I've probably had on the podcast, and very unusual. And I guarantee you'll never look at a glass of water the same way again. I know I don't. It's interesting. So make sure you follow this podcast so you don't miss out, and subscribe. Please do subscribe so you're kept up to date when the podcasts are coming out. And drop in next time for the next podcast in a month or two, which will be coming out because I roll out these podcasts once a month. And if you know someone who cares about women's rights and human rights, or just wants to understand why water is life, share this teaser with them. So join me next time on Let's Talk Clarity. Thank you for listening. Clarity, courage, conversations that matter, one talk at a time. See you later.